What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-host, Micah.
Hello.
Can I tell you that these last 3 days are the oldest that I have felt in my entire life?
Really?
So many of you know this, or some of you might not know this, especially if you don't watch the video version of the show. Over the last year or so, I've lost like between 50 and 60 pounds, mostly through just dieting, and not even really dieting, just changing eating habits more so. Like not dieting doesn't work. Like you have to actually change the way you eat things and how much you eat. But I've reached, like, for the last several months, I've kind of reached the plateau of my weight loss without exercise. So I'm just like, all right, well, if I want to continue losing weight, then I'm going to need to actually, do physical activity, which is not my bailiwick, let's say. So I was looking for like home exercise stuff because fuck joining a gym. And so I settled on getting a rowing machine because I hate running. So treadmill was out of the equation. I don't feel like stationary bikes do enough. And when I watched House of Cards, a rowing machine looked really cool. And in doing actual research, like it's actually a fairly decent, like,
it's a
full body.
It's a great full body workout. Yeah.
Yeah. So being me, noted lover of irony, when I ordered the rowing machine from densepixels.com/Amazon, as you should too if you order a rowing machine to your house. And it arrived on Sunday morning at my house. And in unpacking the rowing machine, I completely threw my back out, probably worse than I've ever thrown my back out in my entire life. And then to add injury to injury, as the saying goes, threw it out again later that night when trying to pack up my racing foldaway chair, even though I was trying to be very ginger while doing that. So I pulled it twice in one day. It's been sore ever since. I've not been able to use the rowing machine for its intended purpose because my back has been so sore. And that's been my last 3 days.
Oh, that sucks, man. That sucks. I thought you were going to be like, man, that's exercise, and really I did too much.
No, I'd love to wear myself out exercising, but I need to actually get on the damn thing first. Speaking of looking relatively young while actually being an old man, let's talk about the Uncharted movie trailer that released last week. Even though I'm sure you guys talk about this on the Apocalypse, but I'm not on that show. And it definitely is tangentially video game related. Micah, I am all the way out on the Uncharted movie based on this trailer.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think I'm not excited for this. I don't mind Mark Wahlberg in a movie, but Mark Wahlberg has a very, like, he's typecast in a very specific role for me. And the mentor role is not it. And they keep saying, well, this is a prequel to the games. Like, why not? Like, okay, if it's a prequel to the games, you're tying it to the games even more so than the actual name. But Drake is doing the same stuff that he did in the third iteration of the. All right, never mind. The fact of the matter is that this trailer, I don't know if I'm out, because this looks like National Treasure. This looks like The Mummy.
Don't get me wrong. I'm still gonna see the movie. I'm just not like excited about it. Chances are I'm gonna be forced to review this for the website, and so I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, like, I will watch this, but I'm not going in with like high hopes. My expectations are, I am whelmed by this. Yeah. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm whelmed. Like, this looks exactly like what I thought it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish that this cast was different. Like, I wish this came out. I wish this isn't the guy. These aren't the people that I imagine when I imagine an Uncharted film.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, there's a whole big thing about video game movies and are they successful and can they work? Which is really funny because like big AAA gaming now is basically just taking all their cues from film. They're hiring actors to act, they're writing scripts that feel like and have action sequences that feel like big blockbuster movies. And it's funny that games took it from the earlier days of film, right? All those people who grew up watching film in the 70s and 80s, they're making these games that feel like them, but the filmmakers can't. They're pulling from it's the snake eating its tail, but for some reason it's only going one way. I think that in terms of video game movies, this might be successful because it's just a action story, right? Like there's nothing video gamey about it. But I'm having a hard time seeing Tom Holland and say hello to your mother for me. I forgot his name for a second. Mark Wahlberg. I'm having trouble seeing Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as these characters that I love. And look, I will criticize Naughty Dog about a lot of things, but I do like their product, particularly the Uncharted series. It's what I want, and it's what I like in movies, action adventure. It's what I like in games. Like not too hard. Like just I like what they're doing, what they do, but like they're not. I don't know. I'm rambling and I lost my train of thought because I'm an old man.
Well,
hence all the gray hairs.
But to me, like the characters is what separates Uncharted from Tomb Raider, because like those games are kind of similar, but Lara Croft as a character until the later games wasn't really developed
right
at all. So I think it's important to nail that in this film. And like you said, it's going to be certainly a different take on those characters, because I have a very defined view, thanks to 4 games, of what Nathan Drake and Sully are like. And I'm not getting that vibe at all from Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. A mustachioless Mark Wahlberg to boot. Let's take the characters defining trademark,
visual
trademark, and just do away with it, because Mark Wahlberg doesn't want to walk around with a mustache on. I
think by the end of the film he'll put on some sort of fake mustache, but it'll literally be at the very end of the film. I don't know, man. Sully is an old school con man, dude, and who would much rather talk his way out of a fight than punch his way out of one. And that is not Mark Wahlberg at all. And Tom Holland, I mean, this might sound offensive, but like Nathan Drake is your prototypical white dude, right? He's white guy, the guy, right? Like that. He's literally the everyman when I think of a white guy. And which is why Nolan North and what's Castle's name? Nathan Fillion and those guys, like they all sound alike. They all got Troy Baker. They all sound alike. They all kind of look alike, because Nathan Drake has been modeled to be the everyman. And there's a certain like world weariness that he has, being the age that he is in the games. And I just don't see it from Tom Holland. And I get it, right? This is a prequel, guys, but I don't know. Tom Holland has a baby face, dude. He's got a baby face. Like there's a reason why they're having him play a 16-year-old in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Because he's got a baby face. I don't know. I don't even know how old he is.
I wouldn't be shocked if he was like 30.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, I'm gonna see this movie because I like these types of movies, but I'm going in with my expectations completely measured.
It's also not super encouraging when like Tom Holland gave that interview a few months ago where he's like, well, sometimes there's just some movies you do for the paycheck. And I'm just like, well, that's
Right,
not a good sign.
Man. Come on, man.
Good old too honest Tom Holland strikes again. Unable to keep his mouth in check. Speaking of Marvel, because I am apparently knocking transitions out of the park today. You purchased Marvel's The Guardians of the Galaxy video game, which of course is the new Guardians of the Galaxy video game that is very specifically not based in the MCU in any way, shape, or form, right down to the character models, even though there's only so many ways you can animate, have a character design for a talking raccoon and a walking tree.
It's so not based. It's so not based on the MCU versions that they have MCU costumes in the game. But look, I've heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but like the only reason I heard of them is because I was like, who the fuck is Rocket Raccoon and why is he in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3? Mm-hmm. Right. And then that's when I, found out who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. And I'm like, okay. But I think like most people, they know the Guardians of the Galaxy from the MCU, the movies, the James Gunn version. And this game takes its cues from that, right? Like, because it kind of has to. But I feel like it's different enough aesthetically that I'll allow it.
Yeah. I'm glad it has your stamp of acceptance, I guess you could say.
Like some characters like Gamora, I think are way better in this than they are in the movies. Mm-hmm. This Gamora feels a little more fleshed out as a person, and not just like hard and bitter. You know what I mean? Peter Quill looks like, I don't know if you know who Alex Albrecht is, but he looks like Alex Albrecht to me.
I do not know who that is, so I have no frame of reference.
He's a guy who used to be on Tech TV. He's a blonde-haired dude with a slightly chubby jowls. But that's who he looks like. In some instances, Peter Quill kind of sounds a little bit too much like Chris Jericho, which is kind of fucking me up.
Does Peter Quill have a wife in the game that talks about planning insurrections at the Capitol building?
Well, Brad, like I said, I assume that all white people plan that.
Does Peter Quill feel that it's important to hear out both sides? Has Peter Quill become basically the wrestling podcast version of Joe Rogan? Essentially. I'm sorry, that was a bit of a tangent. Please continue, Micah.
But the game so far, I'm in chapter 3. I think there's like 15 or 16 chapters. I'm in chapter 3, so I'm still very, very early. But I dig the vibe. I dig the personality. This game's got personality up the yin yang, man. Like these people are just chatting and chatting and chatting and chatting and chatting. And you don't hear duplicate dialogue except occasionally in fights, which is very impressive to me. Given the sheer amount of banter that's going on in this game, I'm very impressed that I don't hear too many doubles. Now, I'm only in chapter 3, so I'm sure this game is said to be like 15 to 20 hours. So I'm sure they will get on my nerves, but so far they really, really haven't. So I enjoy the characterization of each member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this game has been getting comparisons to Mass Effect in that you play, one character who interacts with a squad of people. And this game, like everyone knows by now, you don't control individual members of the Guardians. You instead control Peter Quill, and you give out orders to your other characters who specialize in different things. Groot specializes in crowd control. Rocket specializes in AoE damage. Drax specializes in stagger damage, and Gamora specializes in single target damage. And the idea is to, in those fights, use each of those characters and their individual abilities to maximize efficiency when fighting. Because right now, I just have my 2 pistols, and depending on the enemy, enemies can be bullet spongy. But if you combo different attacks together, that's how you can get combo multipliers, and that's how you take enemies out, right? The issue comes with issuing commands. So there's a button that you have to hold, and I think you might be able to change it to press it, which I think I might do. But there's a button that you have to hold to bring up each individual member of the Guardians that you want to call forth. Then you press one of the face buttons to select that Guardian. Then another menu comes up that you press, and then you press one of the face buttons again to execute one of their 4 abilities. But you're doing this while running around, right? And it slows down time a little bit, but I'm used to the Mass Effect style of issuing commands where gameplay stops. Mm-hmm. I select a command and then bam, right? Like they execute it. Peter also has unique abilities, but there are already 4 other members of the Guardians. So in order to access Peter's abilities, you have to press the L3 button, which is not good because that's the movement stick. Like, don't have a button. Don't have a use for the L3 button.
Don't put anything but sprint on L3 in any game.
Right.
Like, that's literally the only command you need to assign to that button.
Right. And it's just very odd, and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural. So there's some handling issues, I think, with the game, but I hope that I get used to it. I feel like in these 3 chapters, I feel like I've seen everything there is to see about combat, which kind of sucks. I'm hoping that combat, gets a little more interesting. Like, you get elemental weapons later on, I'm told, but I mean, I don't think that's really going to change up gameplay that much. Mm-hmm. The one other gameplay thing that they have is something called the huddle, which as you do damage, you build up a super meter. It's your super move. You build up a super meter, and you press the shoulder buttons. Everybody huddles up. Some banter happens. You get to pick one of 2 choices. If you pick the correct choice, everybody on your team gets buffed. If you don't, only you get buffed. But activating that move will automatically revive down characters. And I think reset cooldowns. You just don't get like the damage buff. And they play, some Kickstart My Heart or some shit like that. It's a cool move, but it's something that I feel like it takes a long time for that thing to charge. And because it's your only resurrection tool, I feel like I won't be using that unless I'm in like dire situations where I'm like the last man standing. So it's a cool mechanic. I dig it. It's fun hearing like those 80s themes come on. But like they cut off like within seconds, because like
this is also going to be like a fucking horrendous streaming game, is it not? Like, aren't there going to be DC takedowns flying around? Like,
so they have an option now. Accessibility in gaming is becoming very, very big now. Mm-hmm. This game is accessible out the wazoo, right? They have an option where you could turn all that off, and just some generic like butt rock plays. But this thing is like super customizable, right? Like, they have 3 difficulties. I'm playing on the normal difficulty. There's easy, normal, and hard, and custom. And then you can, with custom, you can customize like all these little things about like combat, right? And it's not just like accessibility stuff, but you can customize like how quickly shields recharge, or you know, how much health you have. You know, like you can make the game incredibly hard if you want to, or you can make it like super easy, barely an inconvenience if you want to. But I say all that, it sounds like, I don't know if it comes off as I'm complaining about it. I'm not. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying these characters. I'm enjoying the world that they're in. I'm enjoying the banter between these characters. That's the secret about storytelling. Like we just said about the Uncharted series, it's not the story, right? Nobody knows why Nathan Drake goes after a MacGuffin is the story, right? But it's the interaction with Drake and Chloe and Elena and Sully and you know, all of those characters. That's what you remember. That's what gets you in the feels, right? And this game has that. This game has those moments, and I dig it. So, you know, if you're wondering about it, I would say, yeah, go ahead and pick it up. If you can wait a month, maybe it'll go on sale, right? But I'm digging it, and unless something drastically changes in the end game, I would recommend this to people. It's fun. I'm enjoying it.
I'm not surprised that the studio, whose biggest credit is making two fairly excellent Deus Ex games, was able to make a game like this that's more than the sum of its parts. I also heard like the syncing, which is a weird thing to get like nerded out about, but like the audio syncing is like top notch with the characters and things like that. Like the characters and cutscenes look really good.
Oh yeah, they really do look good, because it's, some characters in some games have that like weird uncanny valley thing where like, you're showing too much teeth or something, right? Like nobody talks like this, right? Like it's weird, right? But no, this is it's beautiful. Like it's wonderful. I really, really dig it. With characters like Rocket, like we don't know what a raccoon's mouth movements look like, but every other humanoid character, like they look good when they speak. So yeah, that's actually a really good point. I recommend this game. I'm having fun with it.
Very cool. Guardians of the Galaxy, one of many games that came out this week. Some other highlight releases: Zombo Buster Rising, which sounds like a name that Carrie invented, comes out on the Nintendo Switch. LOL Surprise Movie Night comes out on the Switch. The Unliving comes to PC. Workshop Simulator comes to PC.
Workshop
Simulator, because live out your fucking what's the hell? I can't. I'm blanking on the character name from Parks and Rec now. Ron, I can't remember his last name. It's Ron Swanson. Live out your Ron Swanson fantasies on PC. Pumpkin Jack New Gen Edition comes to the current generation consoles. Age of Empires 4 comes to PC. Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater comes to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. Plan B from Outer Space, A Bavarian Odyssey comes to PC. Riders Republic releases on all platforms except for Switch. Sunshine Manor comes to PC. Voice of Cards, The Isle Dragon Roars comes to Switch. Mario Party Superstars comes to Nintendo Switch. And that's it. That's all the releases for this week.
Okay. I was like, what the hell is LOL Surprise Movie Night? But apparently LOL Surprise is a like a Bratz doll thing.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Okay. And you said Pumpkin Jack New Edition. I thought you said Pumpkin New Jack or some shit like that. Like, I was like, whoa, what is that?
extra downloadable character for the AEW video game, I'm sure, is gonna be New Jack with a Halloween themed costume alongside.
Fucking New Jack as Sweeney Todd. No, thank you. That is fucking scary, man. Go to densepixels.com/fans and join our Discord. You can talk about a wide variety of things, and you can access the post office. You can drop a piece of mail in the post office, and we will read it every week, no matter when you drop it. We are way more reliable than the United States Postal Service and
Ain't that
FedEx.
the truth?
Yeah, because FedEx sucks too.
They all suck,
yeah.
Micah. The UPS is also bad. So they're all terrible. Just some cost way more than others.
So go to densepixels.com/fans, and while you're on the internet, in between, open up another tab, and forget about that porn tab that you have open right now, and go to youtube.com/densepixels. Subscribe and then hit the bell icon, because that would really help us out. Since you're, have that porn tab open, you've probably subscribed to that porn site for some reason. I don't know why. Porn is ubiquitous on the internet. But since you're in the subscribing mood, subscribe to all of our podcasts. TN, The Nerdpocalypse, Black on Black Cinema. We just reviewed a really bad movie called The People Under the Stairs that Jay picked, because Jay is poor at picking movies. Coming Distractions, and the weekly preview episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast. And go to densepixels.com/premium for $5 a month or $50 for the year. You get access to the premium slate of podcasts, including the airing of grievances, which I need to tell Jay that we need to record a new one this week. No Time to Bleed, The Men with the Gold Tongues, which Brad has assured us that the Metal Gear Solid episode will be out. Toot Sweet.
Yes, would have been done Sunday, except my back.
And we also gave our opinions on the newest James Bond film, No Time to Die. You can also find episodes of Upstage Conversation and the full 90 to 120 minute-ish episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast.
Now on video too, by the way. So
now
if you wanted to check that out on YouTube, you can. And if you subscribe, you'll get the link to the full YouTube video for Look Forward. So keep an eye on that. Coming Distractions, I know I just reviewed Dune on there with Jay the other day, so you can check out my thoughts on Dune Part 1. Very exciting that we got confirmation of Dune Part 2 coming soon. One of the last nails in this coffin with this ongoing Epic versus Apple battle is that Epic had to make Fortnite die on the Apple App Store so that other apps could live. Apple has announced some very large changes to the App Store. Most specifically now, developers can target users, telling them about other ways to pay for goods aside going through the Apple App Marketplace. And they were forced to do this because of the antitrust ruling that was leveled against them as part of the Epic judgment, essentially. So you still have to, follow all of Apple's terms and policies and whatnot on the App Store. But this is a win for other developers. Not as much for Epic Games, considering that Apple will still not allow Fortnite onto, back on the App Store anytime soon, because they violated the terms and services of the App Store, which the judge in the case ruled that they were Apple was very much able to do. But a small blow for all small game developers everywhere, and really the people most excited about this, I have to imagine, the developers of the Roblox game.
Are we done with this?
God, I hope so. I've had enough of it. Like, it was fun during the trial, like when witnesses were testifying, and it was fun when the ruling first came out, and somehow both sides lost, which was really the best outcome possible for anyone watching. But now I'm done with it. Like, I kind of wish Apple would even let Fortnite back on the App Store just to get us back to a sense of normalcy. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I feel like Apple's petty enough to just be like, nah, fuck you. We're not doing this.
They got enough money where they can just be like, nah, no, fuck you forever. And look, I get it. As a petty individual myself, I understand. But yeah, man, like this feels like Ferris Bueller needs to come out and just be like, what are you doing? It's over. Go home.
What an oddly astute reference to this situation. So in some news that I'm surprised more companies besides like Cartoon Network haven't done this yet. Because this seems very logical given the success of Super Smash Brothers. But apparently, Warner Brothers is working on a crossover platform fighting game, merging all of the various properties that they own. According to the leak that came out on Reddit, we don't know who the developer is, but the initial list of playable characters is just a smorgasbord of WB characters, including Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, Gandalf, Tom and Jerry, Batman, Fred Flintstone, Mad Max, and Johnny Bravo in this initial leak.
So, you're right. This should have been done a long time ago. More people need to steal the platform fighter all-star idea, especially.
You say that, and yet point me to a good one that's not Super Smash Brothers.
I can't do that.
Or Power Stone.
I cannot do that. But I figure if we're gonna get some more variety, you gotta keep swinging, right? Like you have to keep trying, right? Like everybody got super excited for that Nickelodeon All Stars, and apparently that game is not that great. Like everyone's on mute
to the surprise of nobody. Like who actually expected that game to be good?
Right, which is funny, right? Because like Smash has been around forever, but if I need these people to make these things, and then once they realize that it can be more than just a cash grab, then I would want them to because it's a genius idea. It's a genius idea, especially if you are a Warner Brothers who has a games division, who has a movie division. And you can put all of these different types of characters. Every character that was in Space Jam, you could put in a platform fighter. So yeah, do it. Now here's the thing though, right? I don't like any of these characters. I don't want Fred Flintstone fighting Batman, it just feels weird.
Because it is weird. It's ridiculous.
Mad Max fighting Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. It's you gotta have some cohesion, right? Like Smash is a bunch of disparate characters, but they're all from video games. Right. And they all I can see them all playing in that world, right? I don't see Fred Flintstone playing with Batman. I just I don't see Gandalf giving a damn about Johnny Bravo. But they're too random. They're too random.
Because they have too much of an eclectic catalog, and unfortunately for them, they lost some properties. Like you can't put Agent 47 in the game now because WB doesn't publish the Hitman games anymore. I feel like that if a company as big as Sony, who literally brought in Seth Killian to make their mascot platform fighting game, could not be successful with this, I don't really know why anyone thinks WB will succeed where Sony failed. Like you said, especially with such a disparate and nonsensical collection of characters in this game. Like I said, we'll have to wait to see more. I'm sure it'll be very exciting when this is first revealed. I am not going to get my hopes up in any way, shape, or form that this game is going to be good and worth doing anything with when it does release, whenever that happens.
I feel like Capcom is the only other company that can do this. One from a character standpoint, and two from a gameplay standpoint.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that they're probably the only other ones that can pull it off. So we'll see what happens. The last bit of news this week, hopefully not a sign of things to come. So the Nintendo 64 and Genesis premium Nintendo Switch online service was launched this week, and it would appear that aside from adding online play to these N64 games, which is why people were excited to check them out, Nintendo did not touch these ROMs at all, to the point where a couple of like weird issues have popped up. So like one issue is that Mario Kart 64 does not allow you to save ghost data in the game, because in the Nintendo 64 version, you had to have the controller pack memory card to save ghost data, and the ROM is still programmed to look for the controller pack memory card in order to do that, which you can't do. Apparently, for Sin and Punishment, the mapping of the controller has turned into a major issue, because you have to hold down ZR to shoot in the game, but holding down ZR kind of like triggers an alt button mode for the face buttons, which is kind of a big deal as well. And you can't remap the controller, which is a problem. And because the Japanese version of Super Mario 64 was the only version in the world that supported Rumble, with a Rumble pack, of course, since they're using the North American ROMs, your controllers don't vibrate in Mario 64, which isn't like a deal breaker, but you know, if it's a feature that's available elsewhere, why wouldn't you somehow find a way to incorporate that in? I don't know about you, Micah. This does not bode well as a early omen for the quality of service that we're going to be paying 250% of the current Nintendo Online fee for. That's just my personal opinion, though. I don't know how you feel about it.
I have no idea why people want to go back and play these games. But that's just me, right? Like I go back and I'll go back maybe 2 generations. I'm not playing Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy remastered, right? Like I know a gussied up PS2 game when I see one, and that's all that is. I'm not going back and like, look,
like it has quality of life improvements, whatever that means. Like it's right. An incredibly vague phrase, but they're in there.
Right. Like I see people are like, oh, that's hard, yo. Like, no, it's not. It really isn't. I'm not going back to play those games. So, to each his own. But I think people. I don't know, because it's like, on the one hand, like if you want to like play those games, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell people. I really don't. You can't expect like online play for these games that had no, inkling of what that would be if you want like a straight port. And if you don't want a straight port, like there are updated versions of some of these games that you can play that have everything you want.
Yeah, like that's the thing that's befuddling to me, is like Mario 64, yes, like firmly rooted in nostalgia, a lot of fond memories with Mario 64, but much like GoldenEye, it has been surpassed definitively in the current game marketplace. Like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the definitive Mario Kart game, to the point where I don't know how they're not just adding DLC to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because I feel like it's the perfect foundation for any future Mario Kart iterations. Like you could just add stuff to this game instead of putting out a new Mario Kart game at some point.
Yeah. Like,
so why would you want to go back and play Mario Kart 64 with its 16 tracks and poor physics compared to modern day, and probably shoddy online play? If I had
some of those tracks, by the way, remade.
Yeah, remastered. and by the way, not a small number of tracks they pulled from Mario Kart 64 into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and they were all the best ones. Like the ones they left behind are the ones that you probably don't want to race on anyway.
Right. I'll never understand it. Right. Like you mentioned GoldenEye. Everybody's got fond memories of GoldenEye. Do you remember how you aimed in GoldenEye?
You didn't
with
auto
face
aim.
buttons.
you auto aimed is what you did in Call of Duty.
Right.
You did not aim with the face buttons, though the option was there. You did not do it.
Like, come on, man. Like, I don't understand it. And then like, okay, well, and the game looked ugly, right? Like everybody looked like a watercolor painting that someone like put their hand on and just kind of rubbed it around. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't. So yeah, these type of games, I don't understand when it comes to technology and stuff like that. Like I'm here for the now and the future, man. Like I'll go back, like I said, and I'll play a couple of older games, and then inevitably when I do, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing playing this?
there are a few timeless classics that I will still play to a significant degree. That's old stuff,
Sure.
but yes, you're right. For the most part, there are better games now.
Right.
That
And
your
those
time is better start playing.
and those timeless classics are like legendary games, right?
Yeah.
Like that you can't play. Chrono Trigger, right? Like I will go back and play Chrono Trigger, right? Because that is an amazing game. I'm not going back and playing essentially the go-kart version of Madden 98. You know what I mean? Like I'm not when there's a perfectly fine like current gen version of this game that I want to play.
Agreed.
So look, go to densepixels.com/Amazon. When you go to densepixels.com/Amazon, you can buy a litany of things like a rowing machine, and then hire the Geek Squad or whoever to come put it together for you, so that you don't throw your back out. Or you can buy like a bunch of camera lenses. Like I'm looking at a bunch of camera lenses that I'm kind of dropping into my wife's wish list, in a not so subtle attempt to get her to buy one. But when you go to densepixels.com/Amazon for all of your Amazon purchases, you help us out. You see, we get a little bit of a finder's fee because you are fans of us. And in return, you get what you paid for at no additional cost. It's a, it's a win, baby. So yeah, go to densepixels.com/Amazon.
It's a win-win-win. You get your thing, we get some money, and Mr. Moonman gets his cash as well. So everyone's a winner, except for the middle class. So we move on to the Dense Pixels post office. You can ask us questions by joining our Discord at densepixels.com/fans, just like Daniel did, by saying he was a little late last week when he posted this. But the Dota 2 International concluded with first place, Micah, winning the sum of $18 million for playing Defense of the Ancients 2. Daniel asked, what gaming related stuff would you do with that kind of money? I think we're bearing the lead though, Daniel. How the hell does Dota have $18 million to give? Like, I know Valve has infinite money because of Steam, but like, where are they coming up with $18 million to give to the first place winner of the Dota 2 tournament? Like the guy that is the best Dota 2 player in the world makes more money than like 70% of the players in the NBA, which is insane to me.
That's so wild, man. That's so wild. Yeah, because normally like big cash prizes like that money comes from sponsors.
It wouldn't shock me if there was a $18 million pool of money, but like the fact that one guy got $18 million seems flabbergasting to me.
Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah, because 18th place gets $100,000.
That's insane to me. Just fucking show up to the tournament and get $100K. All right, I guess.
Holy shit!
I suppose that makes sense. What would I do with $18 million gaming related? I would probably buy because I'd be able to afford a larger house. Yep. So I'd probably buy a proper sim rig for my racing with like a direct drive wheel and like a standalone rig. I would buy better recording equipment for like streaming and things of that nature, which, you know, the stuff I have is no slouch now, but when you have that kind of money, you could just buy the best for no reason. This is fucking A. And I'd probably overpay for an Xbox Series X. I'd probably that's probably where most of the money would have to go, but I'd probably pay the premium for a Series X just to acquire one.
And then be mad when you do get it. Like, nothing here I want to play.
It would just sit there. Like I thought it was a refrigerator. I thought it was
yeah, that's it.
Quick aside, $99, a reasonable price for that Xbox fridge. I was expecting at least 200.
I would buy that Xbox fridge if they weren't all sold out and being sold for $500.
Good God. Of course.
So I'll get it on the next go round. I don't need it that bad, but yeah, it holds 12 cans. So I just gotta, the problem is it holds cans and I don't drink soda like that anymore. Yeah. So but yeah, $100, whatever. That's nothing when you got $100,000 for being 18th best at something. One, I would also buy a new house, right? My house is a fine house, but it doesn't have a basement. And I wanted a basement because I wanted a whole setup. This setup that's in this one room that might be changing in a couple months, maybe, is all I got. And so I would want a bigger house so that I can have a basement, so I can have a really nice setup. I'd buy some ridiculously expensive television, right? Like I'd buy like some ridiculously like 120-inch television. And it would all be for, and I would have like an arcade room where I would just have like a bunch of one-ups all over the place.
Oh, Micah, with $18 million, you've got full-size cabinet money.
Well,
you don't have to settle for imitators.
I'm also cheap, Brad. You know,
then you have to assemble them. Like, trust me, the one-up thing seems great, but in bulk, I can't imagine. It's not as fun because putting it together is not the easiest thing to do in the entire world.
But yeah, I would create an arcade and have my son and all his little goon friends. They can come over and they can play, right? And I can charge parents in the neighborhood to come into my basement to let their kids. I could charge parents to let them come into my basement for hours and hours and hours.
Homer Simpson shit going on here. Charging people to jump on a trampoline. Film Wanderer asks favorite acting performance in a video game and why? Because we have to word it in essay form. So
and why?
And why?
You know, all the big AAA stuff. You know, I think video games, the major ones have mastered the idea of having real actors voice performances and stuff, right? Like when Avengers announces, it's a big deal when Avengers announces their voice cast. VO has really come a long way. I mentioned that even though I don't really care for the acting in that game. I hate to say it, but Spider-Man. Spoiler alert for Spider-Man. Someone dies in Spider-Man, in Marvel's Spider-Man, and it got to me. And because I wasn't really expecting it, and the performances from those two actors it hit me in the feels, man. It really did. The first time I played it, I welled up a little bit. So I would have to say that. Partially it's because I'm a super fan of the property, and I'm a super fan of the studio that developed it, and so there's a lot of different factors that go into that, but that's the one that hit me right in the feels.
This might be this is probably a little bit of recency bias creeping in, but I thought that the performance of Daisuke Tsuji, who was Jin Sakai in Ghost of Tsushima, was very, very good. I thought it was pretty nuanced for a video game. Like a lot of characters, especially video games, feel the need to go over the top, and I think that he actually played that part with a level of understatement that I think lent itself really well to the subject matter and the material. But he was able to dial up the emotions when he needed to. So for me, that's what I think of right now, at least. I thought, like I said, I think Nolan North did a very good job as well in all of the Uncharted games. For again, taking a character that, as you mentioned earlier in the show, is very, stereotypical, and giving him a real personality, and and growth, and being able to feel that growth through, and especially in 4, like 4 was
man.
Yeah, yep. 4 was the culmination of the work that they had done in the games leading up to that. So
yep.
Anthony says, if you could travel back in time to the early 1990s and make a purchase that you could bring with you to the present day, what are you buying and why?
Nothing.
No. You're thinking, you're going about this all wrong. You buy a brand new copy of Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES. You leave it in the factory shrink wrap, get that shit graded as like a 9.9, and then sell it apparently for hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's a collector's item now. That's what you do.
You know what? You're right. I was thinking about it the wrong way. I was thinking about it like what from the 90s, like that I would want to bring back to have. And there's literally
I am Marty McFlying the situation as hard as possible. I am bringing the sports betting almanac back with me and getting the thing that's worth the most money. What else would I purchase in the 90s? Like 100,000 shares of Apple stock. Like I'll bring that with me.
Yeah,
these are all the smart things that you should buy.
Right, but there's literally not like one piece of, there's not one individual thing. Like, oh man, I really like that. I really like that, Bugs Bunny in baggy jeans shirt that I had in the 90s. I really got to get that and bring it back with me. No, I can't. There really isn't. Like, can I buy the economic boom of the 90s and bring it back to us? Like, that would be wonderful. But yeah, your way is better. I like your way.
Casa asks, can you recall a time where a game's early gameplay loop could have hooked you forever, and then you lost interest in a later act where the mechanics or status quo changed completely? They bought Inscription on Saturday night, played it for half a day and loved it, and then it lost them the very next day, essentially.
Do a lot of games do that?
I don't know of too many games that kind of pull the rug out from under you, because that's generally not good game design when you shift gears that hard. Like, the point of the early parts in the game is to teach the players the skills that they need to complete the game, and then you build on those throughout. A good example of this is Breath of the Wild, that literally teaches you everything you need to know in the first 2 hours of the game, and then gives you increasingly complex ways to leverage those abilities as you go through the game. So I can't think of a game that switched things up so hard that it knocked me out of sequence, at least off the top of my head. I can't. There are certainly games in the past that haven't iterated enough on what they were doing that they become boring, that I'll fall off on. It's happening with Eastward right now. Like, Eastward, I think I got through about half the game, maybe a third. But they're just not mixing it up enough. Like, it's just kind of the same shit over and over again. And so the compelling reason to play it is to experience the story, and the story just isn't strong enough to keep me attached, essentially. So I'm kind of falling off of that one. But no, I can't think of anyone that pulled the old switcheroo on me part of the way through.
Yeah, I'd be pissed, man. I'd be real pissed. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is the first Bravely Default, where you kind of play the game, but then it's I forget. I was so pissed. I was so
You
pissed. I
have you
think
have to basically like play it again, don't you? Or like play it multiple
something
times.
like, yeah, something like that. Like I was so pissed, and I can't remember it because my brain is trying to protect me now. But
Carrie screaming at her phone right now.
yeah, but that first Bravely Default, I was so fucking mad, dude. I could not believe it. Um, I remember I mean, this isn't really a switch, but it felt like a waste of time. Was one of those Devil May Cry games you kind of played forward as Nero and then played it backwards as Dante, which was like lame. Um, but you know, the mechanics were all the same. Um, and there was one other example that that Nolan North Prince of Persia game, where you play that game and then you do everything possible and you do everything you're supposed to do, and then your companion sacrifices themselves, and your incredibly selfish character is like, well, but I didn't get to kiss her yet, so I'm gonna undo all of existence to bring her back to life because maybe I can try to hit that, or whatever his stupid ass reasoning was. And you literally you press X to undo everything you did. But I really wouldn't say that's a gameplay mechanic. It's just like piss poor storytelling.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, stuff like piss poor storytelling, like games that drop the ball at the 11th hour. Yeah, those are some examples of those, but not like a gameplay switch up.
And I'm glad they let me know about Inscription, because I was actually thinking about getting that, and to hear that it does not have staying power warns me off. So good to know. Cam asks, are y'all having a bones or no bones day? You'll have to explain this to me because the reference is lost on me.
I am I'm right there with you. I have no idea what
We are not cool enough. He
nope.
also says, how great is it that we have King Woods? I'm actually very surprised that they put the King of the Ring on Xavier Woods. I think it's well deserved. I have to eat all the crow, because I remember once upon a time when the New Day first formed up, I'm just like, why don't they just, make Xavier Woods like a manager and just have him like manage Kofi and Big E, like not seeing at all the potential in young Austin Creed. So I was completely wrong. He has a very promising singles wrestling future ahead of him. So I thought it was very cool that they gave him this accolade to build on.
It'll be cool if they do something with it. Um, I, I just hope they do something with it. That's all. I want him to have a decent singles career. The guy can't be that old, right?
He's in his early 30s, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah. So he's got a good 15 years if he still wants to do it, and he still stays healthy. But the dude can wrestle, man. I hope they do something with it. I really do.
Unfortunately, King of the Ring, not the
doesn't really mean much
to success that it once was. Back in the day. So
yeah, it doesn't really mean much. So, and quite frankly, I'm tired of the King gimmick. King Booker was the last time I really enjoyed the King gimmick, because he really like leaned into it, and he was a fucking dickhead about it, right? Like they're not gonna make Xavier Woods a dickhead. So, I don't know. I hope they do something with it.
Yeah. Terrell asks, what game has been on your regret list of never being finished, even though it was really good? So many games that I haven't finished that are good. Still never finished Kingdoms of Amalur, even though I bought it twice, played it significantly twice. That's definitely a regret. Never did actually finish Final Fantasy VII. Got to the final boss, never beat it. Don't care, because that game wasn't that good enough that I needed to go back and grind to be able to beat Sephiroth, especially in a YouTube age where I could just watch the ending and it doesn't really matter. But no, there's several games that are on my shame list, I guess. Too many to count, honestly.
Most Ryu Ga Gotoku studio games, the Yakuza people, most of those games. I think I've only actually finished maybe 3 of those Yakuza games. As much as I liked the first Judgment, got to like damn near the last chapter, never finished it. I had to look up who the mole was. And I was like, oh, all right, well, that makes sense. I like this new Judgment. Probably not going to finish it. I am going to finish this Guardians of the Galaxy game. Probably not going to finish that Far Cry game. I am going to finish Metroid. I just need time to play it, but I feel like I can just jump into Metroid. But yeah, there are so many. There's just way too many to name.
Yeah. Let's see here. Leonardo asks, what is a personal fear or obstacle you would like to tackle in the coming future? I hope Micah's is being able to swallow large pills. You can't swallow large pills?
I can't swallow large pills.
That is hilarious. He says that he has bought a ladder because I guess Leonardo has a fear of heights or ladders and has slowly been going up higher, rung by rung. I am an old man now, as we've discussed on this show. And I have learned as an old man that conquering fear is a young man's game. Accepting your fears and allowing them to be part of your personality is what you do when you get old. So though I have a few fears, insects primarily, I don't like insects. I hate them very much. I'm not going to be participating in like a fear factor level activity to try to face it. I accept that about myself, and I will continue to live in fear every 17 years when cicadas decide to burrow themselves up from the ground from whence they've been hibernating for all this time.
Look, you're 100% right. I got nothing to prove. I got nothing to prove. I got everything I want out of life. I got nothing to prove. I don't like dogs. Obviously, I'm not going to get a dog because I don't want to take care of a dog. I have a fear of rodents. I don't like rodents, rats, mice, shit like that. The most horrific movie that you could ever show me was there was a movie about a guy who could control rats, and he would just have rats just all over him, crawling them, like he could damn near shoot them at people and shit, like some sort of superpower. No, man, I don't like that shit. And no, I'm not going to overcome it, right? Like I'm not going to just look at a rat. Like in that new Suicide Squad movie, there's a character called Ratcatcher, and it was the most squeamish part of the movie for me. And that movie has like a bunch of violence and blood and just people just dying all over the place. But no, that rat sitting on Idris Elba's knee trying to be his friend. Nope, get the fuck away from me. You better CG that goddamn rat. Don't like it.
I don't blame you. Like I said, not a huge fan of rats either, though I do not fear them. I do not like them either. But look, Leonardo, I wish you all the success in overcoming your fear of heights, because more power to you. But like I said, once you're close to 40, you're not going to care so much anymore.
You're not going to care. You're going to be like, what the fuck am I doing up here? I'll just pay somebody to do that. Get the fuck out of here. What am I doing walking over a bridge? I'll just drive over it. Like, get out of here.
Ricky wraps it up asking about my thoughts on F1 in Austin this past weekend. Really solid race. F1 was at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas this last weekend for the United States Grand Prix. Really fun race, just a solid race from beginning to end. Not a lot of crazy incidences, which is pretty good. And the race literally came down to the last couple of laps where it looked like that Hamilton was going to catch up to Max Verstappen and get by him at the end, but Verstappen was able to just hang on to be able to run away with a win to now increase his lead to 13 points in the F1 standings with 5 races left to go. So Mike, it's going to come down to the end of the season for the Drivers' Championship. It looks like. Very exciting.
All right.
So it was a very fun race to watch, though. I had a good time, and very cool getting to watch it at 3:00 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, as opposed to waking up at 8 a.m. Now that they're on the America's stint of the calendar, which is very good.
Excellent.
So that is it for the show this week. Again, if you are not a member of our Discord, you can go to densepixels.com/fans and join today. Make sure you subscribe to the show as well as the other TNP Studio shows wherever you get your podcast. Head on over, if you're not watching on video, to youtube.com/densepixels. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell icon. That way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. And of course, you can follow us all on Twitch TV. I am DensePixels Brad, Terrence is Apparition410, Carrie Suppets Carrie, and you can also follow the main DensePixels account on Twitch, which you probably should for reasons that we'll talk about in a future episode. But more on that to come. But as far as this week goes, that's it. Thank you guys very much for watching and listening. We'll see you all the next time. See you.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.